Hello everyone, my name is DarleneRaye Jackson, and today I will be presenting my final project for marketing consumer behavior titled The Advantages and Disadvantages of Broadcasting. The history of radio. The first form of radio was known as experimental radio. The first experimental radio station was started in 1910 by Lee DeForest. The first program was produced in the Metropolitan Opera House in New York City. Two other experimental radio stations were developed at the University of Wisconsin and another in Williamsburg, Pennsylvania. WWJ, a radio station in Detroit, was considered to be the first commercial radio station in the United States. WWJ began broadcasting on August 20th, 1920. From there, many stations started appearing in every part of the United States. By the end of 1924, radio was being transmitted to more than 3 million transmitters. All of the stations from this era used amplified modulation, or AM radio. This allowed radio transmitters to broadcast over a great deal of the United States. Although AM radio can reach a large amount of people, most of the signals are affected by static, reducing the quality of the sound and their flexibility. Radio officially became a national media when the first radio network was invented in 1926. The era from 1925 to 1950 was known as the Golden Age of Radio. It was during this period that radio became a major source for family entertainment. Radio broadcasting experienced a period of major growth between the 1960s and 1970s when licensing of many FM stations began. FM radio is known as frequency modulated signals. FM radio does not travel as far as AM radio, but it is not affected by static. FM radio has a clearer sound than AM radio. Therefore, it has given us a true interpretation of what radio sounds like today. The history of television. Television was first discovered in 1928 when General Electric displayed the first presentation on television. It took television several years to become a practical invention. The start of the 1930s brought about much excitement for the growing of technology. Inventors predicted that television would be as successful as radio had become. The New York World's Fair was the first television presentation to be broadcast worldwide on February 1, 1940 by the National Broadcasting Company. The FCC officially authorized commercial television in 1941. This transferred television sound from AM to FM. This also increased resolution standards for broadcast television. By the year 1948, 36 television stations were available to broadcast to over 1 million television sets around the world. Because so many applications for new stations were being requested, the FCC ordered a freeze request to be established. By 1952, the freeze was lifted and 70 new high ultra-frequency channels were added to the television stations that were already available. By the beginning of the 1950s, almost 400 stations were providing coverage to almost 90% of the United States. At this time, no medium invented in history could compare to what television had provided as a medium. The advantages and disadvantages of radio. Advantages: offers a wide variety of formats, offers delivery to multiple household occupants at a time, it can be accessed whenever we want to access it, it is considered to be one of the most cost-efficient of all media forms. Disadvantages: it is often considered as background element. Therefore, people do not always pay full attention to it. It does not allow the listener to take control of it because of advertising and commercials. It is not a visual form of media. It costs a lot due to the large amount of people it has to reach. Advantages and disadvantages of television. Advantages. Television is an easy source of entertainment. Television allows us to access new and breaking news around the world. There are several educational shows and channels like PBS and Discovery that allow us to expand our knowledge and make us aware of things going on around us. Television can make us feel less lonely. Disadvantages. Topics of sex and crime and violence are frequently exposed in many television shows and can have negative impacts on children and adults. Watching excessive amounts of television is not good for our health. Television makes us unsociable, replacing valuable time with our family and friends. Television can also be a waste of time, and it often fills slots that we could have spent doing something more important. How can we attribute this to things we have learned in consumer behavior? We are consumed by everything we come in contact with. What one person has can affect what we purchase or consume next. Radio and television consume so much of our lives. We watch and listen to what we want, when we want, on our own time. Radio and television also have an impact on how we behave as consumers of this medium. Alright guys, that'll about do it for me. Thank you guys for listening, and as Dr. Davies always says, go Racers!